Hi, welcome to Rein It In. This is Matt.
And I'm Rachel. Today we wanted to talk you through an epic journey down Ponce de Leon Avenue that we took yesterday. So we've lived in Atlanta for about 8 years. We drive on Ponce on a weekly basis, but not usually the entirety of it. So we started yesterday at the very beginning of Ponce, which is maybe half a mile from our house. And we took it all the way to the very end, which is about 16 miles total.
Yeah.
Stopping at some things we had been to before that we knew we liked, some things that we had driven by a million times and were curious about, and some things that friends suggested online. So we're going to talk you through it, tell you all about it.
So anyone who's lived in Atlanta or visited Atlanta or watched the news when Obama was the president knows that there's this sort of hot dog place right off the highway in Midtown Atlanta called the Varsity. It's one of our, institutions, I suppose. We went there a few years ago with some friends. It was some pretty good, hangover breakfast, hangover lunch, I guess, right? Yeah. Hangover food. But it's not a number one on our list, right? But Rachel said, right, we started off at 10:30, a little too early to be getting hot dogs, chili dogs. So, but we started out in their parking lot, looking at the start of Ponce de Leon Avenue.
Right. So it's basically right by 7585 where it goes through town. You can see the Varsity when you drive by. So we sat in their parking lot and hoped that the parking people weren't going to give us a ticket while we tried to record this intro the first time and did a poor job of it. And then we started down Ponce.
Yeah, right. So I guess the breakout here too is this was a lesson for us in testing our equipment because I had bought a new splitter for my phone and it did something weird. So the volume was super, super low. So we kind of lost the original intro, but yeah, we jumped onto Ponce, heading down Ponce, right, in a day, right? It took us about 7 hours or so, a little longer than that to do the whole stretch. And so we couldn't stop at everything, right? We drove by the Fox Theater, kind of drive by the edge of it. We drove by Merrimack's, another big institution. Skipped that one too, just didn't have time.
Right, exactly. So those two are both very close to the Varsity. Actually, our first stop was probably, almost 2 miles down before we actually stopped to do a thing, which was get breakfast part one. We did have two breakfasts. Breakfast part one at Ponce City Market. Ponce City Market is this big, it's got a big food hall, and now there's an increasing number of shops. It used to be a Sears warehouse that was the largest interior space in the South. They've revamped it and turned it into restaurants and shops and living space and business space. So it's a massive place. So we stopped there to get breakfast part one.
Yeah, and we've got a friend who has a friend who opened a bakery there that is called Root Baking Company, maybe. But yeah, we've bought baguettes there before, and they're awesome baguettes. We're like, okay, we'll stop, we'll get a baguette, we'll get some coffee, we'll get a Danish or something like that. Couldn't get the baguettes because they don't make them, they're not ready until the afternoon, which is understandable, but we got some other interesting pea bread. And then we took a short walk along the Belt Line, which passes over Ponce de Leon Avenue, right there next to Ponce City Market, and we jumped into Paris on Ponce, which was kind of one of our first stops.
Yeah, and so these are all big changes that have happened in Atlanta since we moved here, right? When we got here, Ponce City Market was a big abandoned building. Yeah. The Beltline was barely sort of taking off, and people were just still kind of talking about it. Mm-hmm. Paris on Ponce, Paris on Ponce was there, but it is considerably changed and much sort of hipper than it used to be.
Yeah, they've gone through a couple iterations over the last few years. They added a new section, or they remodeled a section, made a new intro or entryway, and then they closed that down. And I think that's an event space or something. It's pretty cool, but I think it's lost a little bit of something over the years.
I mean, it's still definitely worth checking out. And now there's a coffee shop there, and soon to be a bar. It looks like a sort of outpost of Wicked Weed, which is a Asheville brewery. So anyway.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Yep, we swung through there, looked at the, it's a thrift store, so we looked at all the little booths, checked things out. I'm on the hunt for a brooch for ladies' brooch night, but I did not find it yet.
Yeah. So we jumped back in the car. We headed down just, maybe a bare mile further to another place for actual breakfast called the Majestic.
Yep, Majestic Diner. Food that pleases since 1922 or something, 1927?
Yeah, something like that. And actually, one of the kind of cool stories, we have a friend from Colorado whose parents met, or I don't know, were both went to Georgia Tech way back before he was born, and he came out to visit us a number of years ago, and they asked if the Majestic was still there because they used to eat there when they were in college. So it's kind of a cool place from that, but it's a greasy spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was good. I got a chicken biscuit with egg, and it was delicious. So no complaints.
Yeah, I got some eggs and corned beef hash. Good greasy spoon sort of stuff. And it's kind of in this little plaza that all looks sort of retro. It's got the Plaza Theater in there, which is closed at that time in the morning.
Plaza Theater is it's a movie house, but it shows some kind of newer stuff, but then also a lot of older things or random things. I've only been there once, and I went around Halloween to watch I Walked with a Zombie, which is a zombie movie from late 1920s. It's got some vultures in it. I don't know. It's a real strange movie. They were advertising being John Malkovich, so I mean it's kind of an eclectic bunch of movies that you can catch there.
Yeah. And then this was also, after this was our first stop of the things we've been wanting to visit for years. So just past the Majestic on Ponce.
Well, I had never been to the Majestic before and had
Oh, right.
to
Rachel
go.
hadn't been. I forgot. I'd been there actually with my friend from Colorado. So a little bit further down the first time, I went to something that I hadn't been to, but something neither of us had been to that we've been talking about. There's kind of a little stretch of some like antique furniture stores that you drive by, and they sometimes have some cool stuff out front, and it just looks ancient. It's this little strip mall, this little plaza.
It's like 3 storefronts.
One of them's a fur place that we accidentally walked into, and it was kind of frightening. I'm glad we didn't step all the way in. They didn't actually have furs.
A serial killer could work there.
Yeah. But we checked out the stores, and this was the beginning of maybe we didn't need to stop there even after 8 years. But I'm glad we did, because now we have.
Now we know. Yeah, no, I mean, if it was not things that we were looking for. And I mean, there was nothing small, right? So it was like, if you wanted to go into any of these places, really what you need to be looking for is like a dining set, or a dresser. It was not like, oh, here's a cool, tchotchke from 1940.
Right.
No, it definitely is. They were not that kind of space,
right.
Which a little bit more of that you'll find at Ponce City Market, and then also at Kudzu, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah. I did think Boomerang had a cool interior. Like the walls were painted like stripes of sort of like a muted blue and a muted yellow that looked straight out of, I don't know, like a kid's book or something like that. And the ceiling had some cool stuff going on. So it was a cool space. But I thought the interesting thing, too, was both the proprietors of the 2 furniture places we went into, they're obviously not, they realize their business is not coming from walk-in traffic.
Yeah, definitely.
They barely said hi. In fact, the one didn't even say hi. But he got a phone call while we were there that seemed like it was business. They're obviously doing business, but they do business in I think a different sort of way than...
They must work with designers and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it really wasn't... Yeah, they're really not... they're not walking kind of places.
No.
So,
well, and plus it's kind of a weird spot to even park at. There was a parking spot, I know,
yeah.
But we've driven by for years, and I never really realized where you would park.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So that was the first kind of dud, but it was, I don't know, satisfying to have those questions answered.
Yeah. We got a little walk in. Saw there's a really pretty church on the corner there. This is at Ponce Highlands, I think is what it is. It's the corner of Highlands and Ponce. So yeah, we jumped back in the car, continued the journey onto
some parks. So as you move further down Ponce towards Decatur, there's a series of parks that are called linear parks that were created by Frederick Olmsted.
I think when we stopped at this one other time a while back, but at a different section of it. But yeah, it's a whole bunch of little parks, and it's the Olmsted linear parks. But I think I read on one of the plaques that wasn't Frederick. It was like his firm did it, like maybe his kid or like somehow was connected. But I think it was like later in his life. No, because I think his family worked as part of it. But but yes, I don't know if it was Frederick Olmsted specifically, but it was his firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's famous for Olmsted himself is famous for designing
Right.
Central Park, and famous from being profiled in Devil in the White City.
Yeah.
But so his firm did these series of linear parks, and linear in that they're just long and skinny, and they run along Ponce basically for.
I think it's 2 miles when I looked it up. I mean, I didn't see that marked, but I like put marks on Google Maps and it came out to 2 miles. And there's like 7 of them or something like that. I think that are all different named. We stopped at the biggest one, which was Deep Dean. Maybe
And
yeah.
it had, I mean, it was great. It was lovely. We're planning on going back when, right now it's early March, which is kind of spring in Atlanta, but it's still like early spring. So there was no real like sort of greenery or anything in the park. It was still pretty wintry looking.
Right.
But there's a lot of nice bridges and paths, and I'm definitely interested in going back.
Yeah, it looked like a nice place to walk, especially probably spring and summer. There was a lot of trees, so the canopy would be really nice. There was still a fair amount of road noise there because all the leaves were off the trees still. And I think it'd probably be really pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some crazy houses that are in that neighborhood too.
Oh, they're massive. I mean, they're not even that massive. They're not like huge mansions. They're just large houses,
On
very
large lots.
large lots that are very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, they just have a presence. They have a presence like something out of like a book or something.
Yeah, they all look like they should be a manor house.
Right. But from there we hung out, kind of just relaxed a little bit. One of the things too, I think some of you probably follow us on Instagram. If you don't, we're at ReinItIn_podcast, REINITIN_podcast. But we took a bunch of pictures along the way, so we're kind of just dropping those off. We posted them to Facebook too, but our Facebooks are both private. So you can see some of the pictures that we went. Just check that out too. Follow us there if you also want to find out when we're going to be releasing new episodes.
Content.
Yeah.
Yes.
So from there, we jumped back in the car and cooked on down and landed in Decatur proper.
Yep.
So why don't we take a quick break?
So our initial plan for Decatur, which is small town center about, what would you say, 6 miles away from us, 5 miles away from where we live?
Yeah, but it takes like 25 minutes to get there.
Oh yeah, it takes forever to get there, but especially if you take Marta. However, our initial plan was to go to a few different places. There's an Indian place that we really like. We were going to get some kale pakora, which are delicious. There's a bookstore that I love that's primarily children's and young adult literature bookstore, and then they also have a small curated collection of adult books.
Yeah, we should give a shout out for that. That's Little Shop of Stories.
Little Shop of Stories, yeah.
We should go there.
And Chai Pani. Sorry, I didn't mention the names of either of those places. And there's a Jenny's there, which is my favorite ice cream. So we had plans to hit a bunch of places there. We stopped sort of at the beginning end of Decatur, intending to walk through the town to these other places. And we had a couple beers at this Irish pub sort of place.
Well, one for me because I was driving.
Oh, right. One for Matt because he was driving, and 2 for me because mine were actually smaller than his. So we stopped there. We played some games. We hung out. And then all of a sudden we realized that we were quickly running out of time.
Yeah. Well, I just need to give a plug, though. We were looking at the beer list, and I was like, how much should I get? I kind of want something a little bit later. It was getting a little warm out, and, we just had kind of 2 breakfasts, so it was felt a little heavy, so I was looking for something a little bit lighter, and Rachel reminded me that there is a beer in town called A Night on Ponce, so that seemed like the perfect one to have.
Yeah. I mean, it was a day on Ponce for us, but, so anyway, 3 taverns, Night on Ponce, local brewery. So we stopped there. We had a couple drinks. We played some games. I beat Matt twice. And then we realized that we did not have time to do all the rest of the stuff in Decatur. We wanted to.
No, like it had already been like 3.5, 4 hours since we started, and we'd only gone a couple miles, and we'd only stopped a couple places. So, just for, I don't know, posterity, that's not transparency. Rachel said this right from the beginning. Like before we were early stages of planning this trip, and I was like, no, we can do it. It's going to be like 7 hours. We have tons of time. And Rachel's like, all right. So you were right.
I mean,
absolutely.
It wouldn't have been a problem except for we had tickets to like experimental music competition that started at 7. So we had a deadline that was kind of early, especially since we wanted to get dinner and everything.
Yeah. So yeah, we relaxed there a little bit. We scrapped some of the things we were going to do. So we had a number of things planned in Decatur proper, and instead we just jumped back in the car and cooked on to, was our next step Clarkston?
No, kudzu.
Oh, kudzu. Oh yeah, there's a whole section in the middle there. So yeah, kudzu. We've been passing by this place for years as well on our way out to your DeKalb Farmers Market. So I'm going to do a side thing here.
I know what the side thing is.
I know, right? So like there's 3 kinds of people in Atlanta. There's the people who love and prefer your DeKalb Farmers Market. There's people who love and prefer Buford Highway Farmers Market, and then there's people who like aren't really all that interested in shopping for food. We should also say too, if you don't live in the Atlanta area, it's not a farmers market like you'd think it is. It's not, a parking lot with organic or local things. It's actually these giant, massive international markets,
right,
that are sort of like suppliers for restaurants, and you can buy things by the crate, but it's also like normal person shopping.
I saw someone leaving with like
12
boxes of cassava yesterday.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a giant cart.
It was an insane amount of roots.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One would assume it was for a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. So anyways, we've been driving by this place called Kudzu, and I kind of half saw it, like, since I'm the one who's, normally doing the driving around town, like, I miss a lot of stuff. Like, we were driving down by the linear parks, and the fern bank is right there. I never realized that it's right on the other side of some trees, because Ponce, if you've never driven Ponce, is a little bit like something. It's like the Kessel Run, not the Kessel Run, but it's like, it's a kind of a narrow street. Everyone's driving really fast, and it's turny and curvy. And
you gotta stay focused.
Yeah, you gotta. You're not sightseeing while you're driving. So, so I'd seen Kudzu a couple times. Rachel had mentioned she wanted to stop a couple times, and whenever we're out there, we're always like kind of running into something else. So we, decided this was one of the reasons one of the main things we wanted to stop at too. So we pulled in.
Yep. And promptly parked a little bit farther away from the door than we should have, and
that's also because I'm imperceptive about things like that.
No, it's fine. It was kind of a combination. It's a combination of like home goods store and then also like thrift store with the sort of individual booths. So a big portion of it is thrift store.
Like antique mall, maybe? Is that a better way to put that?
Yeah, antique mall, I think, yeah.
Because Paris on Ponce is like an upscale sort of a little artsy antique mall, and Kudzu was a little bit, I don't know, it was a good combination of stuff. It seemed like it had a better density.
Yeah, agreed. So, and then also like a space with new furniture and home goods items. So you can kind of shop there for a few different things if you want to look at older stuff or like funky accessories or brooches, although I still didn't find a brooch.
We should have got that one that was there. It was pretty good.
And then, also new stuff. So we wandered around there for a while. Again, we realized we're on a timeline, so we had to wander judiciously.
We still felt like we spent a pretty good amount of time. We did the entire loop.
We did,
right?
Yeah. So it's somewhere that I'm definitely interested in going back to, and would recommend if anybody is, sort of on the east side of the city.
Yeah, and I guess you said American Pickers.
American Pickers did go there on one episode.
Which, because it's got some stuff that's like very curated. It feels like a home goods store, part of it, like Rach said. But some of it's definitely those things where it's like a bunch of old random stuff that someone obviously collected and then put into a little booth, right? Like weird pieces of pottery and dishes and books and...
Yeah, there was like a whole occult bookshelf.
Yeah.
So
I should look closer. I wonder if it was actually a cult book.
I know. I was wondering if it was just the sign or if that was like accurate to the content. But again,
we didn't have time.
We were sort of pressed for time.
Yeah.
So really happy we stopped there. And then we scooched down the road, like barely any, because Kudzu was right by DeKalb Farmers Market.
Yeah, I think we probably could have walked to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DeKalb Farmers Market always has an insane parking lot. It's cold inside, so when you go, you need to wear a jacket because the whole thing is like refrigerated.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nuts. So you got to just take a deep breath before you walk in the door.
Yeah. You might get punched by a soccer mom. You're
not allowed to take pictures inside, so we don't have any pictures from there. I mean, I could have taken a picture of the parking lot, I suppose, but I didn't.
I probably would have forgotten and taken a picture inside, but I just totally forgot anyway.
Yeah. But they have great bakery, all kinds of fresh pasta, huge selection of vegetables and stuff. So we just did our weekly shop there, got
some vegetables and
all the stuff that we needed. It wasn't, it was just exactly kind of what I expected, which is the things that I said: cold, crowded,
full of stuff,
affordable, like vegetables and that sort of stuff are really great prices.
Yeah, and so the reason we come down, I didn't say this earlier, we come down on the Buford Highway farmers market side, and we've got a number of friends who come down to the other one. I think sometimes it's like kind of where you've started going, but a lot of it too is they cater to slightly different international populations. So the Buford Highway one is much more focused on sort of like Asian and Mexican, Latino, or Latina cultures, and that just tends to be a little bit more what we cook. So I think that's a little better. Like we couldn't find tortillas at. I'm sure they were there somewhere, but at Buford Highway Farmers Market, you could probably buy 30 different types of tortillas.
That's true,
minimum, and one of those is freshly made off a machine, and they pop them out and they're hot. So that's a little bit more our style for food stuff, but it's still awesome. You got to check them both out because they both have their own thing. The wine selection is way better at your DeKalb Farmers Market.
Wine
the
is better at
spices
DeKalb.
are amazing.
Bakery's better. Spices are better. So I mean it does depend on what it is that you're sort of looking for.
Yeah. We popped out of there, popped back in the car, and then we finally hit Clarkston.
Yes, and then we hit Clarkston.
So we started hitting sort of the little tiny external towns, starting with in Midtown Atlanta, right, with the beginning of Ponce. You're pretty much driving, like you're driving through a couple neighborhoods of Atlanta. You're doing Midtown, kind of hitting the edge of Old Fourth Ward. You're hitting Virginia Highlands, Ponce Highlands area. And then there's kind of like the Emory area, which is where the Fern Bank is. I don't know what that neighborhood's really called.
It's like kind of like the south part of Druid Hills.
Oh, yeah, that could be it. And then basically you hit the edge of Decatur, and then you're in kind of like more suburban Decatur during that little gap area, and then you're in Decatur proper. Then you're on the far edge of Decatur, which is where like your DeKalb Farmers Market is and all that, if you're on Ponce.
Right.
And then you start getting into little stuff.
Right. So, I mean, and this is basically after we passed your DeKalb Farmers Market, most of this is just new to us. So
yeah, it's like industrial parks and
then you get to Clarkston, which is a town that we haven't been to before. Clarkston has a large refugee population, which is, I think, how we ended up at the coffee shop that we ended up at. Refuge
Coffee Shop, which is run by a refugee. I don't remember where it said he was from, but yeah, he runs it. It's kind of a cool spot. Like the inside, there's some just like, dining room tables and some like folding tables and chairs.
It's like a 1950s gas station,
right? Yeah, but the coffee shop is not actually inside the gas station. The coffee shop is a truck that's parked like where the gas pumps would be.
Right, like food truck, truck.
Yeah, food truck kind of. Truck. But I think my cortado was good. It was smooth.
Yeah, my latte was good too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I mean, if you find yourself in Clarkston or decide to go to Clarkston, which is worth going to, I'm sad we didn't get to check out more stuff there. There's a bunch of other kind of international markets. There was a plaza behind us that seemed kind of interesting, but again, we were like on this time schedule.
Right, and this is actually when we realized we started planning with a friend who we were going to meet for dinner back in Midtown before hitting that experimental instrument thing. And so we were like, okay, we really only have so much time. We were like, according to Google Maps, like 13 minutes away from the end of Ponce de Leon Avenue. And we had a little bit of caffeine and we were ready to roll. So we just kind of cruised out of there. We just blew through this little town called Tucker, which Rachel had been to when she was learning how to drive. And
I don't think we were like kind of on the edge of Tucker. I don't think we were in
Yeah.
Tucker proper.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is. I'm assuming it's a town, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although honestly, I don't think that I've ever been to Tucker proper. Anyway,
Yeah.
who knows? Jonesboro, that's a thing?
Yeah. So we had our first true failure of the trip, though, right? Like, we had a couple duds. Well, we only had, the furniture stores were kind of a dud, but we were looking at the map at just other things that were around, and there's, like, Ghost Hill Cemetery and Campground. So we're like, well, heck yeah. So, like, shows up on the map, and it's like, and there was, like, in the little pictures in Google, there was, like, this giant cow statue or something. So, and it's right off the highway. It's right on the edge of downtown.
Well, right off Ponce.
Right off Ponce, right off the edge of downtown Stone Mountain, which is where Ponce ends. So we're like, okay, we'll jump into here, pull off the highway, go down this like dodgy little dirt road that was more or less one lane, and there was nothing really.
There was nothing there. I mean, there were a bunch of RVs, and there was a sign that said Ghost Hill Campground. But
I didn't see a cemetery. I didn't see a road to a cemetery. Maybe we drove.
I didn't see any ghosts.
No. I mean, well, you can't really see ghosts in the daytime very often, right? We would have.
I don't know. I mean, do poltergeists come out during the day?
It probably depends on how much they like to sleep.
Anyway, so we just did this loop around all these RVs and then just promptly got back on Ponce.
Yeah.
Drove for 2 more minutes and found ourselves in Stone Mountain.
Right. And then we had about 20 minutes left. We knew what we wanted our last stop to be, which was this like German restaurant that's right at the intersection of Ponce turns into Main Street in Stone Mountain, and there's a couple other roads that all intersect, and I don't know what the hell they're called, but it would seem like the right spot to stop.
Yep.
And they also have Stone Mountain Brewery beers, so we're like, cool, we'll get a beer.
Well, they are Stone Mountain Brewery, I think.
Oh, you're probably right.
Anyway, so it was a German restaurant and bakery and brewery, so we did, because we're ambitious, we did two samplers. So we had eight little mini beers to try.
In 20 minutes.
And a pretzel.
It took us 25. We kind of did. We ordered a giant pretzel that was like much bigger than the size of a head. Yeah, it was huge.
For sure.
And it was good. It was soft and salty. The beers were pretty good. There were a couple that were better than others, like anything, I suppose. And then because we'd already bought a bunch of bread at the bakery, Root Bakery, and some focaccia that is pretty good over at Your DeKalb Farmers Market, we also decided to buy, and we took home some of the pretzel.
Right.
But we got some eclairs. We got some wedding cookies.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of carbs to eat, but that's how we rolled.
It was actually hard to squeeze all those carbs into my face yesterday, though. Like, I was very full by the time we left dinner, which was
the next stop, right? So
we
left. Yeah, we left Stone Mountain, and we didn't take Ponce all the way back because it would have just taken a little too much time. So we jumped onto some highways and cooked around. Made it back to Midtown to our last stop, which was actually, we almost didn't eat here because it just like timeline and geography-wise didn't make as much sense. But Eats is a restaurant, I think like it was on an Alton Brown show or some sort of food show that we saw. Maybe it was Anthony Bourdain, I don't know, like a long time ago when we first moved here, and we drive by it pretty much every time we're on Ponce. And I always look at it and think, I kind of like to eat there. There was a nice article about like this person who grew up going there and now like takes their kid there. So we ended up eating there. It's sort of like a counter style meat and three or a pasta place. That's kind of two restaurants in one.
Yep. So we got our jerk. Well, Matt got jerk fish. I got jerk chicken, and our sides, and some more carbs. And
I got collards. Well, you got green beans, so that isn't all. But still, it was good, right? It wasn't amazing. I'm super glad we went.
Yep.
I'm not going to be like turning down other places to go there.
They did have Bell's Two Hearted for $3.75, which is incredibly cheap.
That's a killer price in Atlanta.
So before we wrap up, I just want to talk through some of the other things that we would have liked to have hit or that are worth considering that we've been to before on Ponce. So, or things that we just aren't interested in at all. So top of that is...
we put a call out, on Facebook to our friends, like, hey, where should we go? But I even said in there, no Claremont Lounge.
Yeah, so Claremont Lounge is a old strip club. I don't want to talk about it for too long because this is already getting long, but we skipped Claremont Lounge. We're not strip club people. Even ironic.
Yeah, it's not a normal strip club. It's more like a dive bar that anyways, this is also on TV. There's lots of shows that go to it.
Right.
Actually, Anthony Bourdain took Alton Brown there,
mm-hmm.
and Alton Brown is unbelievably uncomfortable.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But they did turn that into a very nice, above the Claremont Lounge is now a very nice hotel. So there is a lounge, not the Claremont Lounge, but there is a hotel bar and roof bar that I think are worth going to. Other things that are sort of note that people did suggest, Drunken Unicorn, which is a music venue,
mm-hmm.
Which is like a, kind of crappy punk club, which is fun.
There's the Bookhouse is in the same parking lot as the Drunken Unicorn,
mm-hmm.
so it is. Bookhouse is kind of a Twin Peaks inspired bar. It's pretty good. It's a nice place.
Bookhouse is worth going to.
Yep.
They have Tuesday tacos, I think.
I swear we could spend another 20 minutes on things we probably would have done, right? People gave us some other suggestions we just didn't get a chance to even consider.
Right, exactly. All the stuff that we skipped in Decatur. I would love to do some more stuff in Clarkston.
Yeah.
There's the possibility to do like a Fox theater tour.
Mm-hmm. The Fox is pretty amazing. If you're in town and get a chance to do the tour, see something there. It's a little pricey, but it's
well worth it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that people told me it was amazing, and then we finally went. I was like, oh yeah. This is what amazing means. So what do you think about like some things? I mean, obviously, if you're going to do something like this, we've got to give ourselves more time. Yep. I've got to, like all my time schedules, I need to take whatever my estimate is and like at least times 0.5 it.
Because I like to sort of
not 0.5 it, then put it in half.
Relax, right? And be able to, enjoy my beer and beat you at some games and not feel super rushed. So
yeah, it was still fun. I'm glad we did it. We've been talking about it for a bit. Would we do it again? Maybe, but we might have to do like Peachtree. But Peachtree we might have to give like 2 days because that thing starts. I don't even know where the hell it starts. It's the longest road in Atlanta.
Wow.
The most famous road in Atlanta. But Ponce to me seems like it's a little more character or something.
Well, that's just because we're used to driving up and down it so much.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we should probably wrap up because we don't want to keep you all forever. But we're basically going to have one more episode before we start putting out Japan episodes.
Yeah.
And so definitely, if you have not followed us on Instagram and are interested in photos from any of the episodes, but especially once we get to Japan, starting to see some cool Japan pics, follow us there.
Sometimes see pictures of our cat Laszlo too.
Right.
Worth it.
Yep.
But yeah, also subscribe to the podcast, right? Especially if you're family and you want to follow us while we're in Japan. We're not going to be doing them every day, but we're hoping to do them like pretty regular, every couple days, sort of like travelogue, reflection moments from what's been happening. So check us out, subscribe. We're Rein It In, Matt and Rachel, Rein It In with Matt and Rachel. We're on all the major platforms. If you go to ssdpress.org, that's Samuel David, press.org, /Rein It In, REINITIN. Sorry, I can't spell. If you've ever seen my typing, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so Rein It In, /Rein It In. You can like listen to us, whatever our latest episode is there. There's an embedded thing. There's a link to all the different platforms. Go to iTunes, subscribe on whatever platform you want if you want to pay attention. We'd love to have other people listening to us.
Yeah, and giving us some feedback. All right. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks for sticking with us. Bye. You can check us out at anchor.fm/ReinItIn. That's spelled REINITIN, all one word, no spaces, and you can leave us a message there. You can also follow us at Instagram at ReinItIn_podcast or email us at reinitin@ssdpress.org. Also spelled REINITIN at ssdpress.org. Thanks again to all of our friends and family for all the support and for putting up with us. Have a great day.